And as John Kruk begs Castellanos to drop it, he makes the play in foul territory, spins, fires home, beautiful one-hop strike, gets the runner at the plate for a double play. Unbelievable play from Castellanos to save the game-winning run. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. And we're getting into the last week of the Major League Baseball season. The last week. After 6 long months, we have finally come to the last week of September and the last almost 5 days of the MLB season. Last weekend heading up to this week. This is being recorded on Wednesday, so last end of the week and the weekend, and we're headed to the playoffs by next Tuesday. So very exciting stuff. The AL West race is out of control. The Rangers just took the divisional lead from the Houston Astros because the Astros got swept by the Royals. Yes, swept by the Royals, one of the 2 worst teams in the American League. And the Rangers swept the Mariners. So 2 sweeps in a huge, tight AL West race to put a little bit of a gap between the 3 teams, but still a lot can happen in this last week. We're going to get into that. The National League wildcard race has 5 teams that are still alive in it right now. The American League wildcard race has 4 teams still alive, and we'll talk all about all that crazy stuff going on now. But before we get into that, we're going to our outfield play of the week, and this one was pretty special. In a game earlier this week between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres in San Diego, we all know that Fernando Tatis has been playing an excellent right field, his first full season in the outfield as a right fielder. He is playing gold glove caliber right field. He might even win a platinum glove. I've said that earlier. But we're going to get into it right here. Richie Palacios coming up for the Cardinals here. Excuse me, that's not Richie Palacios. I don't even know who that is. Sorry. Cardinals have not having a good year. But he's going to lift one high and deep to right field. Fernando back to the track, to the wall, sizes it up, leaps, and pulls back a home run that would have been over the fence by like 2 or 3 feet. Look how far over the fence he yanks this ball back from. What an unbelievable play from Tatis. He's danced around. He's loving it. But, oh my goodness, he's done everything. He said it himself. He wanted to rob a home run. Look at that. He's like fully extended over the elbow, sizes up the wall. He takes a quick peek. He's got time. That ball was hit so high. Leaps, make a perfectly timed catch to take a home run away. Let's take a look at this replay one more time. This slow-mo. Takes a quick peek and just unbelievable. That's probably the best home run robbery of the year. Fernando, his first home run robbery as an outfielder, obviously, but unbelievable stuff from him. He might win the platinum glove, which is crazy to think about, after he was a shortstop, and everyone was giving him so much hate for having that terrible defensive year at shortstop, even though he was hitting a bunch of bombs. They moved him to center field for a little bit before he got suspended, and he was terrible. He was dropping routine fly balls. It was bad. It was bad. But this year has been a completely different story. And I mean, good for him. Good for him. All right, so now we'll jump into our Game of the Week segment. This one, potential playoff preview. Last year, this was the series where the Braves lost, actually. They lost to the Phillies. I said it last week, and I believe that the Phillies are the one team in the National League that could give the Braves some problems. So they played a series. They played a couple series over the past week and a half. One at Citizens Bank, one in Truist Park in Atlanta. So we're going to go to one of the games from Truist Park in Atlanta earlier this week. And we'll jump in here in the top of the first inning. Kyle Schwarber's on third base. Alec Boehm at the plate, and he's going to rip one into left field for an RBI base hit with 2 away in the top of the first inning to give the Phillies a quick 1-0 lead. A couple batters later, after a Bryson Stott walk, Brandon Marsh is going to ground one up the middle. Nicky Lopez ranges to his left and makes a nice off-balance throw to first base to get the runner third out of the inning, gets out of a jam. Nice play from Nicky Lopez, the backup shortstop for Atlanta, who has been very good for them in the short amount of time that he's played with them. We'll jump ahead here to, I believe, the top of the second inning. Yes, leading off the top of the second, the man Nick Castellanos. And Castellanos is going to get getting an off-speed pitch here that he's going to lift into deep center field. That ball is going to find the seats. And if you see, that's caught by a fan holding his daughter. Look at this, hanging slider, crushed by Castellanos, his for solo home run, top of the second inning. And look at this. Look at this dad. Makes the play one-handed with the baby in the other hand, sets the baby down, and hoses the ball back in. And he hoses it all the way back to the infield. Ball rolls back to just about second base. What a play from dad. Unbelievable. Shout out to him. Great play from there. Great play from the stands there. If that was banana ball, it would have been an out, but this is the major leagues. So, home run for Nick Castellanos. Now we'll jump ahead to the top of the fifth inning. The top of the fourth inning. Castellanos is next at bat, this time with a runner on. This time he gets the fastball. This time he drives it deep to right center field. This one's going to land in those seats in front of the chop house. 2 at-bats in this game, 2 home runs for Nick Castellanos, 1 solo, 1 2-run homer, 3 RBIs in the day, gives the Phillies a 4-0 lead early in the fourth inning. So, like I said, this Philadelphia team always plays Atlanta tough. And I think they have the pitching to do it too with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Moving ahead, Matt Olson now in a 4-0 game in the bottom of the fourth inning. He's going to rip one into right field. That's going to get Atlanta their first run of the day. Acuna comes in to score. Matt Olson keeps driving in runs at an unbelievable pace. 4-1 game now. And Matt Olson has currently, as I'm recording this, has 134 RBIs on the season, which is one away from tying the all-time Milwaukee Atlanta Braves franchise record for most RBIs in a season. He's got 53 home runs, just unbelievable, out of this world year for Matty O over here. Miss him in green, but I mean, what are you going to do? He's pretty damn good. Next inning, bottom of the fifth, runner on second base. Nicky Lopez is going to loft one into shallow left center field. That's going to bring home a run. RBI single for Nicky Lopez. That cuts the lead to 4-2. Good piece of hitting there, as that looked like a changeup running away from him. He just pokes that over the shortstop's head. That's going to drive in a run. Later, Nicky Lopez on third base, 2 away in the inning. Ozzy Albies is going to hammer one deep to right center field, down the right field line, but it's going to be just foul. And Nola is going to get him to strike out on the next pitch, ending the fifth inning, keeping the game at 4-2 in favor of Philadelphia. Bottom of the sixth inning here, runner on first, 2 away. Eddie Rosario, he's going to rip one hopper into the 4-hole. Nice play by Bryson Stott. He gets the grip into his glove, fires to first, gets him in time. That'll be the third out of the inning. Nice play from Bryson Stott. Keep a run off the board and get the Phillies out of a jam. Bottom of the eighth inning now. Runner on second, 1 away. Austin Riley up. He's going to line one into right field for a base hit. That's going to score Ozzy Albies from second base. RBI single Austin Riley. Now it's a 1-1 ball game in the bottom of the eighth inning. Next batter, Matt Olson. He's going to round one up the middle. Diving play by Trey Turner. Flips to second for 1 in time. What a play from Trey Turner to keep that into the infield and get an out. So, next batter, Marcell Ozuna. He rips one to right field, high and deep. Castellanos back, looks up. That's off the top of the wall, and he misplays it. That comes all the way back towards the infield. That's going to allow Olson to come all the way around to score. Game-tying RBI double for Marcell Ozuna in the bottom of the eighth inning. That'll bring us to the ninth, scoreless. And after the Phillies cannot score in the top of the ninth, we're heading to the bottom half. Orlando Arcia at the plate, 1 away, runner on third. He lifts a high fly ball down the right field line into foul territory, and as John Kruk begs Castellanos to drop it, he makes the play in foul territory, spins, fires home, beautiful one-hop strike, gets the runner at the plate for a double play. Unbelievable play from Castellanos to save the game-winning run. One-hop throw to the plate, in time, double play, ends the bottom of the ninth, 4-4 game still, headed to extras. And John Kruk on the Phillies broadcast was screaming at Nick Castellanos to let it drop into foul territory. But he didn't listen, made a play, spins, fires, one-hop throw to the plate, perfectly in time, double play to end the ninth. To the 10th inning we go. So, Bryson Stott up at the plate. Top of the 10th inning, 2 away, bases loaded, A.J. Minter on the mound. He's going to poke this one down the third baseline, past Austin Riley at third. 2 runs are going to score. RBI double for Bryson Stott with 2 away in the 10th inning. That gives the Phillies a 2-run lead. Bottom of the 10th inning now. Ozzie Albies is going to lift one to center field with 1 away, runner on third. That's going to be deep enough to get the job done. So a run for the Braves to cut the deficit back to 1. But here comes Austin Riley, 2 away. He's going to pop one up to, fittingly, Bryson Stott, who had the 2 RBI double in the top of the 10th. Phillies win a clutch game with a bunch of impressive performances late. Nick Castellanos, 2 home runs, game-saving play to throw out the runner at the plate in the bottom of the 9th. Bryson Stott with a nice play in the field early on, and then the game-winning 2 RBI double in the top of the 10th inning to secure the win for Philadelphia. So crazy game there, and hopefully that will be a postseason preview for how that series potentially would look between the 2 teams if they meet. Very fun game, very fun series overall, but I believe, if not they split or the Phillies won those, they played 6 games overall in the last week and a half, and I think the Phillies won 4 of them. They either went 3-3 or the Phillies won 4-2, but I'm not completely positive. All right, and then our last standings update before the playoffs picture is completely set. A lot of it is set, but there's still a lot of things that aren't, and we'll get into that right now. So, like we always do, the American League East, the Baltimore Orioles, they are looking to finish off the final touches on the American League East. I believe their magic number is down to 2 games now, so they control their own destiny. They have 98 wins as of right now, looking to get 100. Their road record this year, record on the road, 52-29 road record this season, tied with the 1997 O's team for the best record on the road in franchise history since the O's became a team in 1954. And Tuesday night, the Orioles won a game 1-0 on a leadoff home run by Gunnar Henderson. That was the only run of the day. And it was a pretty fitting final score for Tuesday because Tuesday was sadly the day that Baltimore Orioles Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest defensive third baseman in the history of baseball, Brooks Robinson, passed away. But a very fitting thing for on the day that Brooks Robinson passed, the Orioles win a game 1-0 because Brooks Robinson was notorious for winning games 1-0. He drove in the lone run in 1-0 victories for the Orioles 10 different times in his career, which is an MLB record, the most by any player ever. So very fitting that on the day that Brooks Robinson passes, the Orioles win a game 1-0 to honor him because he did that more than anyone ever. Pretty cool there. Baseball always has those wild connections that are just always present. The Tampa Bay Rays, in a game this week, the Tampa Bay Rays struck out 19 batters in a 9-inning game, and they lost. It was only the 4th time since 1901 that a team struck out as many as 19 in 9 innings and lost. Wild. So their pitching staff has still been pretty good, but that's a pretty insane stat. The other night, Manuel Margot hit an RBI single, and it was the 10th walk-off win of the year for the Tampa Bay Rays, which is the most in the majors this year. Rookie Junior Caminero, who is the youngest player to appear in the major leagues this season, recorded his first hit and a walk in his first MLB game. He also hit a double off the wall Tuesday night to drive in another run at Fenway Park off the Green Monster. And they're sitting pretty at that top AL wildcard spot, and it looks like, unless something crazy happens with the Orioles and the Rays go on a winning streak, the Orioles are going to finish out on top of this AL East, and the top AL wildcard is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. The Toronto Blue Jays just lost a tough game to the Yankees Tuesday. Not an ideal way to lose the game, as it was 0-0 going into the 9th inning, and Jordan Romano gave up a 2-run home run to the opposite field to Austin Wells. Not ideal, but right now they're a game and a half ahead of Houston for that second AL wildcard spot. So they're looking good right now, but they're going to have to finish the season strong if they want to stay where they're at. The Yankees, they need the season to be over, and if we're looking at my desk right now, specifically over here, there's supposed to be another bobblehead on my desk right now. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of a Lego piece right here. You see how these two are connected? These are 2 separate bobbleheads. Connected. There's a little spot right here, right? And this is Roger Maris when he hit his 61st home run back in 1961. They made a replica bobblehead. They gave it out. I believe it was August 19th, 20-something maybe. There's supposed to be a second part of this bobblehead. I'm sure you can guess what it is. because last year, 2022, 61 years after 1961, when Roger Maris hit 61 home runs, Aaron Judge broke the American League home run record and hit 62. So, on September 23rd, this past weekend, I went back to New York to go home to go watch the Yankees play and go get my Aaron Judge bobblehead. And the day I get there, it starts pouring rain. Game is canceled very early in the morning. Don't even get a chance to go to the game. They don't even hand out the bobbleheads. And they postpone the bobblehead night to April 20th, 2024. Next season. So, brutal stuff there. Can't complete the collection here with the Roger Maris Aaron Judge. I'm very upset about that, but I'm going to get it one day. The Boston Red Sox, their season is over. Yeah, that's all we got from them. The Atlanta Braves, so much to say about this team. So much dominance from this team on really both sides of the ball, but their offense especially. So, in the history of baseball, the most home runs ever from a player hitting in the leadoff spot in one season. Most home runs from the leadoff spot in one season. I'll give you the list right now. Number one, with 41 home runs from the leadoff spot in one season, would be Ronald Acuna Jr. this year, right now, and he'll probably add on to that total. Number two, with 39 home runs, Mookie Betts this season, right here, right now, and he'll probably add on to it too and get to 40. So, the most home runs from the leadoff spot in a single season ever. The top two names, Ronald Acuna and Mookie Betts 2023. Insane. They just passed, well, Mookie Betts at the moment is tied with 39 with Alfonso Soriano, who did it in 2006, and George Springer, who also did it in 2019. Kyle Schwarber hit 38 home runs in the leadoff spot last year, and Alfonso Soriano hit 38 in 2002. So pretty exclusive club here, pretty insane there that both the top names are from this season. And speaking of that top name, Ronald Acuna Jr., probably your National League MVP. He became just the fifth player in Major League Baseball history to have a 40-40 season, and he's got also 60 steals, so he might get to 70. Matt Olson, like I said, leads the MLB with 134 RBIs, which is over 20 more than his previous career high. And like I said, he's one away from the Braves franchise record for a single season, which he will probably beat. They're the first team to reach 100 wins this year. That means it was their first consecutive 100-win seasons since 2002, 2003. So 20 years ago. They're the third team, this 2023 Atlanta Braves, the third team in Major League Baseball history to hit 300 home runs in a season, joining the 2019 Twins and the 2019 Yankees. And that was the year when the balls were juiced. And all the teams who hit the most home runs ever are from 2019. So this is just showing you how insane this Atlanta offense is and how many home runs they hit. They have 301 home runs as of right now, 6 away from tying the all-time record. The Philadelphia Phillies just had a very intriguing series, 2 series actually, against the Atlanta Braves. We'll see if we get to see that matchup in the postseason. Bryce Harper became the 5th Phillies player this season to reach 20 home runs. Pretty impressive. And the Marlins got rained out yesterday against the Mets in Flushing, starting a series against the Mets. Huge series for the Miami Marlins, because we're going to get into it. The Chicago Cubs lost an absolute heartbreaker last night in Atlanta. They were up 6-0, ended up losing the game on a dropped fly ball by Seiya Suzuki. Terrible way to lose a game, but that means that the Marlins now control their own destiny. That loss put the Marlins a half game behind Chicago. So if they win today, they play a doubleheader against the Mets. If they win 2 games against the Mets, they jump Chicago. And they also hold the tiebreaker. So if they tie with Chicago at the end of the year, which is what would happen. So let's say in their first game today they win. They'll be tied with Chicago. And then let's say they both win out the rest of the year. They'll be tied. But the Marlins will make the playoffs because they hold the tiebreaker over Chicago. So if that happens, that Seiya Suzuki fly ball will cost them their season, which would be absolutely brutal. So the Miami Marlins control their own destiny going into a series against the Mets today, Wednesday. And speaking of the Mets, Jeff McNeil had a very eventful day against the Marlins in Miami this past week. He had 2 outfield assists in the same inning, and he joined Milwaukee's Joey Wiemer to be the only 2 players in the MLB this year to have 2 outfield assists in the same inning. And the Mets rookie sensation, Ronnie Mauricio, homered on a pitch that was 1.23 feet off the ground. And he hit that pitch 112.9 miles an hour. That's the hardest hit home run on a pitch that low since StatCast began tracking in 2015. So he's been impressive. He's hit a home run from the left side and the right side. They've both been absolute missiles. And he is almost like an Ellie De La Cruz, O'Neal Cruz type of talent. Like, he looks like that too. He's huge. He's lengthy. He looks like explosive and very fast too. So see if the Mets have another good one on their hands too. The Washington Nationals, Lane Thomas became the 6th Nationals player to record 20 homers and 20 steals in a season. We'll jump over to the American League West. The Twins clinched their division. And on Tuesday night, they obliterated my A's. So the team, you know what I'm saying? They obliterated them, though. I believe it was 11-3. Yeah, I think it was 11-3. The first inning, we walked in a run. And then Matt Wallner hit an absolute nuke of a grand slam. So they started to look pretty good. They're 11 games over 500 right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. So they're starting to look good going into the postseason because they're going to win this division. Obviously, they said they just clinched it. The Guardians, Lucas Giolito needs this season to end. I mentioned maybe last episode, 2 episodes ago, that Lucas Giolito became the first pitcher since 1899 to have an 8 earned run start for 3 different teams in the same year. And he had a game where he pitched against Cincinnati the other day, and the Guardians went up early, and he was not able to hold it, and the Reds finished the day with, I believe, 11 runs. So I don't know if they were all him, but that's not ideal. The Tigers, this is Miguel Cabrera's last week in the league, and I mean, it's good to see that Miggy's still passing records and passing people on the hit list every time he gets a hit or doing everything cool. So it's good to see him his last week, and I have to touch on this because obviously you've seen that Miggy's having a farewell tour. Everyone's giving him his gifts and stuff. The Dodgers gave him the Hollywood sign. The A's gave him a $80 bottle of wine signed by the team, and Miguel Cabrera is a recovering alcoholic, so that's no feel. Sounds like the most A's thing I've heard in a while, but what else is new? The Chicago White Sox, Luis Robert Jr., became the first White Sox player to have 35 home runs, 35 doubles, and 25 steals in one season. So he is very explosive. He's been very good, but that White Sox team is just an anomaly. Not very good. And the Royals, I mentioned it earlier, they swept the Astros. A huge series for Houston. And I'll touch on this more, but the Astros kind of have been digging themselves their own grave. I'm going to get on that a little bit more when I get into the AL West, but Royals swept Houston. And they also took 2 out of 3 of them in a series about maybe 2 weeks ago. The National League Central now. Milwaukee Brewers, they just clinched the National League Central. They have won 6 division titles overall, and they've won 3 in the last 6 years under Craig Counsell. So pretty good manager, Craig Counsell. Brewers win the Central. They actually lost yesterday, but because of other results, they won the Central. Milwaukee's staff hasn't given up double-digit hits in their past 26 games. That's the MLB's longest streak since the 2018 Washington Nationals. They scored 12 runs in the second inning against Miami this past week, and it was the second run scored in one inning in franchise history, behind a time when they scored 13 in the 5th inning on July 8th, 1990. And Carlos Santana became the 10th switch hitter in Major League Baseball history to hit 300 career home runs. So that's a pretty crazy stat. I'm a former switch hitter myself. So the 10th switch hitter ever with 300 career home runs, Carlos Santana, that's pretty cool. Always got to show love to the switch hitters. Pretty sick. And like I said, the Brewers clinched the Central. And the Chicago Cubs, oh my gosh. Not a good time to be a Cubs fan right now. It's been great for the past 2 months, ever since the All-Star break, to be a Cubs fan, but last night was a very, very crushing defeat. They were up 6-0 against Atlanta, starting a series against Atlanta. And, I mean, of course, the Braves are going to claw their way back. Bottom of the 8th inning, it's a 6-5 ball game now. Sean Murphy lofts a fly ball into, medium right center field. Seiya Suzuki is coming in. Pete Crow Armstrong coming over from center, but Seiya's got it. He's got it lined up. He's calling for it. And he just missed it. He just whiffed on it. I don't know if he like somewhat lost it in the lights or he just like lost. I don't know, but he just missed the ball. 2 runs scored for the Braves. They took a 7-6 lead and they won 7-6. And like I said, that makes Miami control their own destiny because now, if Miami wins today, their first game against the Mets, they will be tied with Chicago, giving them they already have the tiebreaker over Chicago, so that would put them into that last wild card spot. And if they both win out, that Seiya Suzuki dropped fly ball will come back to haunt the Chicago Cubs. The Cincinnati Reds, they've been shaky over the little bit of time that they really need to win. Hunter Green, who is 24 years old, became the youngest Red since Gary Nolan, who was 19 in 1967, to strike out 14 batters in a game. Pretty impressive. 14 batters be struck out by Hunter Green. TJ Friedl hit the first Reds inside the park home run since 2012, and as of Tuesday, he hit a home run in 4 straight games. Pretty crazy. Inside the Parker was a part of that. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they were down 9-0 in a game against Cincinnati, and they came back to win the game 13-12. It was the largest comeback win in Pirates franchise history, and the Pirates have been around since 1882. So think about that. Largest comeback in Pirates franchise history since 1882, since the inception of the team. Ridiculous. And Cincinnati, they've been shooting themselves in the foot. This young talent is impressive. Their young core is impressive, but the pitching is not. They don't have the pitching to get themselves there, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make the playoffs. They're sitting a game and a half behind Chicago right now, so they're going to need Chicago and Miami to falter in order to get in, but they need to get themselves going. The Cardinals next year cannot come here soon enough. I mean, that's really all I got to say about them, but jeez, oh boy. And moving to the West, the 2 Western divisions. We'll start in the American League because this is an unbelievably tight race right now. All 9 Rangers starters had at least 1 hit and 1 run scored in a game this week. That was the first time the Rangers have done this since 2018. So everyone in the starting lineup, 1 hit and a 1 run at least. And I believe that was a game against the Houston Astros, or Mariners, excuse me. So a very important game for them. They hit 6 homers in a game against the Mariners too, and that was the most they did hit all season in one game. So they swept the Mariners, like I said before, at the same time as Houston was getting swept by Kansas City. So they jumped them, and as of right now, they hold the lead in the American League Central by, let me check, let me make sure I'm right on this, by 2.5 games. So that's a pretty significant margin. 2.5 games on Houston, and then Seattle is a half game behind Houston. So that is really where it gets tight. The Astros had 9 games in the past 2 weeks against the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals. 9 games against the 2 worst teams in the American League. They went 2-7 in those 9 games when in games that they really, really need to win. Like, that's insane. The Astros are a half game away from being out of the postseason picture, and there's 5 days left in the season. So this is getting very dicey for the Astros. They're going to have to figure it out real soon. They lost on Tuesday night to the Mariners in Seattle. Yordan Alvarez is one of 2 Astros to have 3 or more consecutive 30 home run seasons. The other Astro is Jeff Bagwell, who did it in 8 straight seasons. So pretty elite Astros legend company there for Yordan Alvarez, but he's got a little bit of work to do before he matches Jeff Bagwell. But like I said, Houston needs to figure it out right now. They started that series against Seattle, I believe, on Tuesday. They won the first game. Or not on Tuesday, on Monday. Excuse me. Houston won the first game of that series on Monday. Tuesday night, Seattle won to even the series. So tonight, important game for both teams. If Seattle loses, they might be done. If Houston loses, they jump behind Seattle. So, speaking of Seattle, we'll talk about them. Julio Rodriguez just became the 3rd player in Major League Baseball history to have a 30 or more home run, 30 or more steal, and 100 or more RBI season at the age of 22 or younger. He joins A-Rod, who did it in 1998, and, of course, Ronald Acuna Jr., who did it in 2019. So, just the 3rd player ever to have 30 homers, 30 steals, and 100 more RBIs at 22 or younger. Unbelievable. And speaking of Julio, he is only the 2nd player to have 175 or more RBIs and 60 or more stolen bases in his first 2 seasons since RBI became an official stat in 1920. So he's driving in runs and stealing bases at an unprecedented rate for his first 2 seasons. He's been unbelievable. And another Seattle Mariner that's really under the radar that's been unbelievable this year, Cal Raleigh, the catcher. He's the first catcher in Mariners franchise history to have a 30 home run season, and he leads all of Major League Baseball catchers with 30. And he also, Tuesday night, he recorded his 24th runner caught stealing. 24th. That leads the majors, and 12 of them have come since September 5th. 12! What? That's more than half. He's had 12 in the last 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. And like we talked about Julio, we talked about Cal Raleigh, two forces on the Seattle offense that have been propelling them. But the main factor of this Seattle team has been their pitching staff. Their starting rotation has been the best in the league, and they have the best ERA from starters in the major leagues. And Luis Castillo recorded the Mariners' 1,392nd strikeout of the season, which is the most in a single season for the Mariners. So best ERA in baseball, most strikeouts ever by Mariners staff, and that number is just going to keep getting bigger with 6 more games left in the season. But 6 huge games for the Mariners. They can't afford any slip-ups or their season's done. Moving on to the Los Angeles Angels, Nolan Schanuel started his career actively with a 27-game on-base streak, which is the 4th longest streak to open a career in Major League Baseball history. So, South Florida native, FAU kid, 27 games to start his career with reaching base. Unbelievable stuff. Adams, kidding me? Speaking about my Oakland A's, I think maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about how the Royals became the worst team in baseball over them. A's said nope, took that right back. They're 48 and 109 now, like 6 games worse than the Royals because the Royals just won a series and then swept the Astros, so they beat them in 2 series in a row. Oh, we are Jones. The A's, Joey Estes, at 21 years old and 347 days, became the youngest A's pitcher to debut since Brett Anderson in 2009. Probably the 57,000th A's rookie to make their debut this year. Joe Boyle and Ken Waldachuk logged back-to-back quality starts for the A's this week, right? Back-to-back games with a quality start. First time all season for the A's. So that'll do it. That's how you get 48 wins in a year. You don't have back-to-back quality starts until the last week of the season. But, at least it happened at some point. At least you got at some point, right? Instead of 0. Got to look at the positives. National League West, the Dodgers. Of course, they win the division. They clinched it already. Freddie Freeman is the first player. Oh, excuse me. Talk about the Dodgers. Just clinched the division. Freddie Freeman became the first player in Major League Baseball history to have 25 or more homers, 55 or more doubles, and 20 or more steals in the same season because he's just hitting doubles at a ridiculous rate. He hit his 58th double of the season on Tuesday night. He also set a career high in hits with 201 and counting, stolen bases, 21 and counting, runs scored, 125, and doubles, 58. He broke his record when he hit 56, but now he has 58. Unbelievable. And he became the first baseman in MLB history with a 20 homer, 20 steal, and 200 hit season. So Freddie Freeman is doing something that no first baseman in the history of baseball has ever done, a couple things that no one in the history of baseball has ever done, and he might become, the 7th player ever to hit 60 doubles in a season. He just needs 2 more. He's not going to win MVP. This is the best season he's ever had. He already has an MVP. He's not going to win MVP. Unbelievable. The Arizona Diamondbacks, as of right now, are sitting in that second wildcard spot in the National League. They're 1 game ahead of the Chicago Cubs. They had a big comeback win against the Chicago White Sox last night on Tuesday. Big win for them. They need it. They need every game they possibly can because they could get leapfrogged by Chicago, Miami, or even Cincinnati as of right now. Corbin Carroll became the first rookie in MLB history to have a 25 homer and 50 steal season. Ridiculous. And Christian Walker, Tuesday night, had 6 RBIs, including 2 two-run home runs, raised his season total to 103. And this marks the first time in his career where he has recorded 100 or more RBIs. And that is going to continue to rise as we have a week left in the season. And the San Francisco Giants have really botched their season. They let the season slip away in the final month. They hung around all year. No one really thought they were going to, but this last month has been the death of them. And, I mean, they're 4.5 games out. They're going to need some sort of crazy miracle to jump 3 teams or 4 teams to get into that last wildcard spot. The San Diego Padres, for some reason, they just decided they wanted to get hot over the last week and a half, kind of. Juan Soto is just tearing the cover off the baseball, but too little too late for them. And, like I said before, they're going to have the National League Cy Young on their team, probably. And speaking of that, Blake Snell, we're going to talk about his stats and the National League ranks that they are. His ERA, 2.33, first in the National League. Strikeouts, 227, second in the National League. Opponent batting average, first in the National League. WAR, 5.7, first in the National League. So 3 out of those 4 stats, first in the National League. K's, second, only behind Spencer Strider, who's got an insane amount, ridiculous. They're going to have the Cy Young. Juan Soto just became the second player in MLB history with 35 or more homers and 125 or more walks in a season at 24 or younger. The only other person to do that is Ted Williams, who did it twice. He did it at the age of 22 in 1941, and then the next year when he was 23 in 1942. So 35 or more homers and 125 or more walks in a season. 2 guys ever have done it, Juan Soto, Ted Williams. And Soto just hit a career high in home runs with 35, and 8 of those 35 have come against the San Francisco Giants, which is most against any team. But unbelievable that they're not going to make the playoffs, and they're still 2 games under 500. Colorado Rockies, Nolan Jones, who has been an impressive outfielder for this team. He had his 3rd outfield assists of 100 or more miles per hour of the season. That ties the record for the most 100 or more mile per hour outfield assists in 1 year in the StatCast era. And he also set the franchise record Tuesday with his 18th outfield assist of the year. So him and Brenton Doyle have been 2 bright spots on that team, 2 young outfielders with absolute cannons who can track down balls in the outfield, look to be the future of the Colorado Rockies. But this year they're going to finish with 100 losses for the first time in their franchise history, which is unfortunate. And that'll wrap up our standings update. Final standings update before the MLB season is complete. We'll have the full playoff picture in the next episode, and by that time, we'll know all the matchups. We'll look ahead at the matchups. We're going to look at who's playing who in the wild card series, who's getting the buys, all that good stuff. And until then, we'll talk to you next time. Make sure you follow all the BVS, Bobby Valentine Sports shows on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Follow the Clips channel. Follow the Bobby Valentine Sports Academy. And if you need anything to know about Bobby Valentine Sports Academy, look up bvacademy.com and it'll answer all your needs. And until next time, we'll see you in the playoffs. And sell the team. Peace.